Good morning, boys and girls. Today we will begin the first of several lessons involving story problems. Today's lesson is lesson 11, and we will discuss both the story problems that we call Some and Some More and Some Went Away stories. Whenever we have a story problem, it's important when we are writing the equation that matches the story problem that we really read and study the problem and try to figure out the storyline or the plot of the story. Just like we talk about plot when we are reading, we also talk about plot when we're working with word problems. Turning to page 48. Many of the stories we analyze in math also have plots. Two common mathematical stories are stories with some and some more plots, those are addition problems, and stories with some and some went away plots, those are subtraction. Let's look at a few examples. One example of a some and some more story is this. Before he went to work, Tom had $24.50. He earned $12.50 more putting up a fence. Then Tom had $37. Notice the plot here. Tom had some money, then he earned some more money. Now, here is a some and some went away story. Let's say Tom took $37 to the music store. He bought a pair of headphones for $26.17. Then Tom had $10.83. Notice the plot. Tom had some money, but some went away when he spent it. Some and some more stories have an addition pattern. We fit the numbers from the story into the addition pattern. So in the case of our first story, he had $24.50. He earned another $12.50 for a total of $37. Some plus some more equals the total. Now in the case of a some went away story, it's a subtraction pattern. Notice he had $37, he spent $26.17, he was left with $10.83. Some minus some went away equals what is left. Typically when we're given a story problem, we are not given all three parts or pieces of the equation. Some number from the equation will be missing. The first step in solving these problems is to read the story and recognize the pattern. That's very important. Let's say it again. Read the story and recognize the pattern. And let's turn to page 49. Step 2 is to sketch out the pattern, meaning set up whether it's a plus or a subtraction problem, and record the given information. Typically, you'll know 2 of the parts of the story, but you won't know a third part. The missing part, you'll just fill in with a letter, and that's what you're trying to do. So, step 2 is to sketch the pattern according to the plot. Step 3, you'll find the missing number. Sometimes that involves setting up a whole different problem. And I'm going to go through this with you rather carefully. And then finally, you answer the question. Remember, with a word problem, typically you're going to need to write an answer that involves a label. Now, just a couple of quick abbreviations. If you're ever asked what kind of a problem is this that you're solving, SSM typically represents some and some more, while SWA typically represents some went away. All right, I'm going to pull out my paper and I'm going to show you step by step how we solve these problems. Let's begin with the word problem in example 1. Jenny rode her bike on a trip with her bicycling club. After her first day, her trip odometer showed she had traveled 86 miles. After the second day, the trip odometer showed she had traveled a total of 163 miles. How far did Jenny ride the second day? First, let's figure out the plot of the story. Jenny rode some miles, then she rode some more, and she then wrote a total number. So we recognize that this is a sum and some more story. Now we're going to set up our pattern. A sum and some more is going to be something with addition and a total. Second, we fill in what information we know. Let's go back to the problem. It says that after the first day, her odometer showed she had traveled 86 miles. So our first piece of information is 86. After the second day, the trip odometer showed she had traveled a total of 163 miles. That means after we add day 1 and day 2, our total is 163. The missing part of this story is what did she travel on the second day? Since it's our missing piece of information, we'll use a letter to show that this is the number we are solving for. When you're asked to write an equation that matches the story problem, this is exactly what I want you to write. Now we move to step 3, which is solving. Typically, you're going to have to write up and solve using a different equation. For example, in my little head, I cannot automatically figure out 86 plus what equals 163. I need to write out a different problem to solve. You remember from our lesson on missing addends that if I'm missing one of my addends, I can find it by taking my sum and subtracting the one addend I do know. Here's where I'm going to set up and solve a different problem. 3 minus 6, bigger bottom, better borrow. 16, I'm going to just slash and say that I only have 15 left. Throw my extra 10 over here. 13 minus 6 is 7, and 15 minus 8 is 7. Therefore, the number of miles she must have traveled the second day is 77 miles. Let's do a quick check. 86 plus 77, 3116. Lo and behold, we did do it right. Our check is correct. Now we write our answer. You'll notice I didn't record units as I was writing my equations and solving. That is okay. But in my answer, I do need to go back and record the units correctly. 77 miles, and I circle it. Notice in this one space, in order to solve the problem, I had lots going on. I wrote the equation that exactly matched the word problem. It was a sum and some more problem. But in order to solve, I had to do subtraction. And then I got my answer. I went ahead and checked it here. I will at different times ask you to write the equation that matches the story problem. Kids sometimes get confused and hop right to step 2 without doing, or step 3, excuse me, without doing step 2. I will want to know that you can write step 2, then do step 3, then finally find your answer. I know it seems like a lot of extra writing, but it is very important mathematically that you are able to read a story problem, understand what's happening, and write an equation that matches it. All right, let's check our work quickly, and yes, we came up with the same answer. We are going to look at a different story problem now, and I'll try to work you through this one as well. Here we go, page 50. Nancy counted 47 prairie dogs standing in the field. When a hawk flew over the field, some of the prairie dogs ducked into their burrows. Then Nancy counted 29 prairie dogs. How many prairie dogs ducked into their burrows when the hawk flew over the field? First, let's consider the plot of the problem. There was a large group of prairie dogs. Some went into hiding, in other words, some went away, and then there were some left out, open and visible. This is a some went away problem. Therefore, when I write my equation in step 2 that matches the plot of the story, it needs to be a subtraction pattern. Now we go back and fill in the known information. We started with 47. We are told that some ducked into their burrows. We don't know how many. And 29 were left. We want to know how many ducked into the burrows. That is our missing information. We will use a letter. I'm going to use D for dog to show we have a missing piece of information. Now we move to step 3, where we solve. We remember when we have a missing number in a subtraction problem, we can find this missing number by simply subtracting the difference instead. So 47 minus 29 leaves us with 18. And in fact, if I went back and checked my work and wrote out 47 minus 18, I would get a difference of 29. Our final step is to write the answer. We are talking about prairie dogs. 18 prairie dogs ducked back into their burrow when the hawk flew over. Again, write the equation that matches the story problem, solve for your missing number, write out your answer, and give it a circle. And you'll see what we just did matches what was done in the book. So it's time for you to practice. You will do both A and B. You will identify the problem as a some and some more or some and some went away. I want you to write the equation that matches the story problem. Then I want you to solve, remembering that sometimes you have to write a different problem. And then I want you to record your answer with a label. Have fun with this.